Running fans, jumping fans, throwing fans, all around athletics fans, welcome to Talking in Ovals. How's everybody doing out there on this Monday, August 4th, 2025? Hi, it's August. What are we doing here?
Listen, man, I'm just watching our intro video, and I'm thinking we might have to update it.
I was just thinking that. I'm getting
with
a
just high
headache
school
after
kids. With
USATF.
just high school kids.
High school. Maybe we should do it. Maybe I should have
every high school kid who made it to the Nats.
Maybe I'll have three. Maybe I'll keep this one. I'll make one for the college grades, and I'll make one for the high school grades. So depending
and then one with
on
just past guests, because we had some guests who had some pretty good outcomes at the Nats this weekend.
A bunch of guests that competed, 3 of them moving on to Worlds, and I forgot to mention this episode 152. Everyone keeping score at home there. But yeah, so obviously, congrats Sinclair Johnson taking second in the 15. Congrats to Matt Ludwig getting third in the pole vault, and congrats to a Josette Andrews.
Josette, baby,
getting third in the 5K. And
tough race too, man. She took the lead with about 4:50 to go, maybe last lap. She gets passed coming off the turn. She's in like 4th or 5th, and then you could see the girl in third was just fading. I'm like, I think she's gonna get her. She goes by and she makes it, man. Awesome.
Sinclair with the same thing, mental toughness coming down. She had the lead coming down the end, and super pumped. And
it's always hard races because they're not usually fast. I mean, I think that some of our top runners need to maybe change that, because you're letting too many people stay in the race and you're not making it. I mean, the men's 15, I'm sure we'll get into later, but
what's crazy is
minus Cole Hocker, do we think any of them were going to make it? But it's crazy.
But the fact that the men's 15 went 3:30 and we're going, they're not going fast. That's crazy to think what American middle distance has become, right? 3:30 used to be like Bernard Lagat burning the field with a 3:31.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's like
completely different world.
You run 3:30, everyone's there.
Everyone's there.
Shout out to past guest Eric Holt making the finals at 15. He's had kind of a rough season, but what a great race to get himself in the final. Final wasn't how he wanted, but just to get in there, man. It
seemed like a year he didn't race as much. He came in, did what he needed to do, and also Jordan Geist with both the shot and the hammer again, making nationals for both
70 feet
is incredible.
70 feet,
70 feet, and then you have Justin Stafford through the season's best, and a big shout out to Tanner Berg finishing 4th. With a huge personal best there. So, we love our past guests. And Megan Hunter. Megan?
If
the 800.
She didn't get tripped up. She was right there, ready.
Her and Addie were going together.
Addie too, man.
But congrats to Rosalind Willis. She won the race.
Yeah, great.
Won the race she was in. So that was fun. USATFs put on a show. We'll probably talk more when we get with our guests. But before we go and get even more in depth, wherever you're watching from, hi, thank you. We appreciate it. Whether it is X, YouTube, Facebook, Kick, or Twitch, whichever one you're watching from, we appreciate it all as always. If you like what you see today, make sure you like, share, follow, subscribe, all of that fun stuff. And if you're listening to this later via podcast form, 5 stars is the only amount of stars you're allowed to give. If not, we will, I don't know, Dave will go and write a nasty letter on your social media.
Oh, sure.
But last week, we had fun because we didn't do our normal show.
No.
We didn't do our normal have a guest. We had one of our buddies, John Davern of Flow Track, come on, and we gave a whole bunch of predictions about nationals, and I thought we actually did pretty well with a lot of the races.
Obviously, there were a lot of upsets. A lot of things happened that people didn't see, but that's the fun of making predictions and kind of seeing how it all plays. I mean, I doubt any of us got the men's 15 correct.
No shot. Not at all, actually. So it was wild. It was fun, but we are back on it. We're doing our normal show today, and we are pumped because this guest should have told us to kick rocks weeks ago. We are the worst hosts and booking ever. We double booked him twice. He has no business being as nice as he is, but we're happy he is. So let's bring him in. He is Travis Mahoney. He is a performance coach and a former pro steeplechaser at the highest level for U.S. Olympic trials. You qualified for every single U.S. and Olympic trials from 2011 to 2025. That is absolutely ridiculous, Travis. How are you?
Doing good. Yeah, doing good. Yeah, found out I actually could have ran at USA's this year if I wanted to, but I don't know if I would have broke 9:30 in my current fitness. So stayed home.
I mean, that is that a record? Is that for the country?
Six.
Is that a national record?
No, I'm
Right.
sure there's been guys that have made quite a bit. I know Ben Bruce had a long streak as well. I think he might have had like 17 years. So, um, but yeah, no, it's good. Very
It's
grateful
got to
for
be
my
a steeple record though, right?
no, Ben Bruce was a steepler.
Oh,
I think
steeple.
he's,
That's right.
he's
That's
gone
right.
through
That's
a
right.
lot. Yeah, I'm not really sure, but still grateful for the longevity I had in the sport.
So
Beautiful.
real quick, Darren Peters, if you're watching, Darren knows all this stuff. All right, so he's one of our resident watchers, USATF affiliate, and he's affiliated. He gives us all the fun facts. So Darren, if you're watching, you probably have this research. You'll know whether or not Travis. We have a bunch of people that are track stat nerds and stuff, and fact nerds. Like Dave, obviously, will give you every single fast runner from 2001 before for New Jersey. Jim Lambert as well. So we get some of those people. So Darren, if you're watching, I know you have this fact somewhere, but so we appreciate you jumping on again. I just want to openly, publicly apologize. We suck at scheduling, but it's been a long time coming. You've been on the show. We're pumped to have you on. I want to get started with the way we start our show with all of our guests, talking about you, your running journey. So first things first, when did you get the spark to not only just running and enjoying running, but get the spark to make this your sport of choice where this is what you want to do?
Yeah, I mean, I think the spark took a while to become a fire, I guess you can say.
Yeah.
But the spark started when I was really young. If I look back now, reflect back now, I first started running. My dad would just like meet up with some of like the other dads in the neighborhood, kind of stay in shape. They would jump in a race here and there, and then I raced actually the Manasquan Turkey Trot, and that was like a big one every year. And I think I was in fourth grade, and my brother was in sixth grade, and I was always a small guy. I was tiny. I mean, I barely hit 5 foot going into freshman year for reference.
Hey, me too.
Me too.
Welcome to the Short Guys Club.
I was like 4'10", like 79 pounds as a freshman, like all muscle though.
I think I hit 90. I think I hit 90, and I was like 5 foot on a good day.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so I ran and I beat my brother in Manasquan Turkey Trot and for our age group award. So I won that over him. So that was good. But I think I look back, I was always super competitive. Had an older brother, his friends. He was a much bigger guy than me, and I could be as scrappy as I could. But they still kind of kick my ass. And I have to think back, like I grew up with my cousins, and we were really active playing manhunt and stuff. And I just had this like feeling of just being able to just outwork people or fatigue people a bit and just push a little bit harder than they can. And yeah, so it kind of just naturally drew myself to it. I played a lot of other sports. I was big into baseball. I did competitive gymnastics for like 5 years.
Nice.
And then as I kind of transitioned into high school, started dropping the other sports. I really loved the competition aspect of running. And it took me a while to kind of get that spark into a fire and to like really enjoying it. And then my junior year of high school had a good breakout, went from like 10 minutes in the 3200 to like 9:38. And it was just like, all right, like there's something there. We had a really good team coming back. And I think that's what carried me. Good coaches, really good team focus. One of my co-captains in high school was really on top of me because, he knew I had talent, just kind of, dragging me out the door for runs. And that sparked everything. Then going to college. And then in a similar way, junior year of college was another time in my life where I was like, or end of sophomore year, going into junior was like, all right, like what do I want out of the sport? Because at that time it was coming to a close, right? Because I wasn't running necessarily anything crazy fast, and I had 2 years left. What did I want out of it? And then put the foot down, and that's when it really became something.
It's funny because I found that junior year is so make or break in so many ways. And so because that's the year where you either see people kind of hang their heads and okay, I'm just going to trudge through, finish off these next few years and enjoy the sport, or it's I'm going to get to work. And that seems relevant for both. So I always find it funny. Junior year, I don't think people realize how important that junior year is because you're not one of the youngins on the team anymore. You're not a freshman or a sophomore, but you're not a senior. So that's the year where it's either, okay, I can break out and really be a member of this team, not only scoring, but also being a leader, doing everything the right way, or I could just be one of the guys. And that's
Yeah.
like, I think, a massive transition. Again,
Yeah.
like you said, both as a high schooler, becoming a young man, and then as a collegiate kid,
Becoming a
becoming a
man.
legitimate man, right? Like
Yep.
So
that's pretty cool.
I want to ask you really quick because I don't think that this gets talked enough. I'm not sure that we talk about some of the old wonderful coaches that we've had. Like you were
Yeah,
able
yeah.
to run under like Rich Gerbauer, Jack Campbell, and then
Mhm.
you get Marty Holleran coming in there
Yep.
when you're there. What was
Yeah,
it like?
yeah.
I mean, still doing an amazing. I mean, he gets kids at a small group one school to be competitive. The guy is an absolute legend. But what was it like to compete for those coaches? Like looking back, knowing like I couldn't have had probably a better high school experience with the coaches that I had.
Yeah, I mean, exactly that. I think all around the coaches, the team, spoiled. It's like leaving that, going to a college. There's probably like maybe a handful at best of colleges that have that type of cohesiveness, drive, like to try to be better, serve the kids in a really good way. Um, yeah, I mean, I was extremely fortunate to have them as an influence. Gebauer was such a great coach because he treated everyone on the team the same, and his like biggest focus wasn't performance. And I think I learned a lot from that. A lot of these kids, aren't going to go on to running college. They're not going to necessarily be a scorer on the team,
Yeah.
but I think just discipline and the expectations that he set, just like it just sets you up for success, kept you on the right track. I went to Old Bridge was a really big school, but yeah, I mean, and then throw, so and then Holleran was just like such a good person for me personally, just from just meshing, and I think I took a lot of lessons away from him. And, I found out more of that from Gags and just like the relationship building.
Yep.
So much, I think, of this sport, people get carried away of just like maybe the X's and O's and all the training. But at the end of the day, it's like so much of it is relationships. And like we were talking about Cooper running 142. It's like, yeah,
Amazing.
that's talent. And a lot of times too, it's like when you do have a good team or a good kid, it's about relationships and talent management. It's not like, it's like they're going to be pretty good if they have that talent. Being smart, being a good coach,
Yeah.
obviously is very important, but that talent management, I think, is an overlooked factor. They do a great job with that. Great job and great focus on the team. And yeah, I mean, I look back and just like not only how good of a team we had in cross country. I think we won 2 Group 4 state champions when we were there. Then I had like Bryant McCombs, who at the time was setting like indoor national class records. And then right behind him was Alan Luckenheimer, who was a 47-second kid as well.
Yep.
We had two-time JAV state champ, disc state champ. It was amazing. And then I was fortunate enough to go back to Old Bridge, take over for Gebauer, coach alongside Jack Campbell for a number of years before he retired, and then I departed as well.
Yeah, I mean, you also said something very, very interesting in your response to our answer. Like, you're a person who went on to make so many national pro teams. You never even won meet a champion. So, like, can you maybe tell the kids out there that like you don't have to do everything right away in high school? That if you stick with it, the best is always yet to come.
Yeah, I mean, you need to have long-term mindset. I mean, I won one sectional title. I didn't even win a group title. I was close, and my highest finish at a meet of champions was 8th. I just matured late. I think everyone's on their own journey.
Mhm.
There's so many people that come into the sport. Maybe they do have great success. They might stagnate. They might go backwards, and then they might resurge again, right? You were even just talking about Josette, who ended up making the world team this year.
Yep.
Phenomenal high school career, and she could have been someone that easily could have stepped away from the sport after a few years in college and not having success. And then she comes out the other end. So everyone's on their own journey. It's really easy for these young kids to just be looking social media. You're being fed. Anytime you look online, anytime you look on MileSplit now, someone's running something stupid fast every weekend of the year, all
It's
year
so
long.
disheartening if you're not like one of those national elites. And, one thing you also said too, you talked about how you had coaches, especially that cared more about you and making you into a good person. And I felt all of my best coaches, including the man over there, wrong side, the man over there next to me, Hyatt. If you care more about the person and making a high schooler, especially, into a good individual, they're going to trust you more because you're invested in them. And then they start to trust in your plan. The plan should become second in terms of how to get them into a better athlete. But, if you feel like that person is invested in you, not only about the result that you can give them, but it is about you as a person, and especially in track and field, where there has to be so much trust there, right?
Yeah.
I feel like all of my best coaches have 100% cared about me first, my results second. And I think that that's not unique to track either. I think that's in all forms of coaching.
Yeah.
Should be.
Yeah.
It should be. Yeah, it should be. So
Oh, go ahead, Alex.
I want to go back down memory lane real quick because I want you to give me your favorite memories of being a runner, starting from all the way back to the beginning up until like yesterday, because you're still doing it. You are still running at an incredibly high level. So give me all your your favorite memories. We got no time limit here. So
Yeah.
you've had an illustrious career, and I think similar to what Hyatt said, a career that I think all of us would take, but initially going into it, kind of one that, your mental toughness is incredible to kind of weather it. So give us your favorite moments.
Yeah. I mean, I think starting at the beginning, I look back and those times racing with my dad and brother, and even through middle school and stuff, there's just no pressure. It's fun. I think that's why also I love coaching, and it kept me in the sport for a while, is just running free is something special. So even at high school, yeah, I remember, I think it was maybe the first race my senior year where I really went all in. Coaches really believed in me. And, I look back now as an athlete. I remember this very vividly. There's a newspaper article that was written on us at Old Bridge. We were a pretty good team coming in my senior year. And I was not the top guy. I was only the sixth man, I think, at our group, the group meet the previous year when we had won. But he's like, look, Travis is probably going to be one of the top guys. You should give him a call too. They were doing it on our team. He called me and he was like, what are your goals? And I had run 17:42 at Homedale. And I was like, I want to break 16:20. And he laughed. And he was like, what do you think's realistic? And I remember going up to Coach Holler and then Coach Gebauer. And I was like, yo, this guy, I called him. And he called me and he was like, he was questioning my goal at 16:20. Do I think it's realistic? And they smirked and looked at each other. And I was like, all right, whatever. I just kind of was annoyed. And now I look back as I went through the sport to realize why they were smirking. I think they were smirking because I didn't come back to them questioning my goal.
Right.
Someone from the outside, that reporter questioning my goal, didn't have me questioning my goal.
Right. You were questioning his. Yeah.
I was questioning why he was questioning my goal.
How dare you ask me that question? I know how much. Yeah. But that's more than half of as a coach now, you hope that your kids have that confidence in themselves, but it's hard. And like you said, with social media now, it's so hard just to keep these kids reined in.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love the fact that it just kind of pissed you off that he even asked that question. That it was kind of wait a minute, do you know who you're talking to? I'm going to do that. Nonsense.
Yeah. I think from a high school perspective, that was big. I had and then the first race I came out swinging and had a really good race.
But here's the question. Did you run 16:20?
I ran 16:16.
Yeah, buddy.
That's right.
So who was that reporter so we can invite them on right now? I'll send them the link.
To be honest, I don't remember. I don't remember. It was almost 20 years ago now.
Right?
So, and then I think from high school as well, probably was our county meet, Thompson Park. At the time, I think we had gone 4 years in a row as an individual champion and a team champion. And I had a very good athlete running against me. And I remember the two previous champions were there from Old Bridge. Umar Syed and Matt Chambriello came out to watch.
Yep.
And I was hurting. And, there they were with 400 meters. And I'm like, man, I got to pull this off. I was able to pull it off. And it was just it was cool to see, I think, just the history there. And I think they did a good job of pumping that up and really making us all feel like family. So, and then flash forward, probably my favorite college memory is me having my breakthrough race. I had run 9-ish minutes in the steeplechase my junior year, which was at the time right on the border of making it to the regional meet. I never made it to the NCAA regional meet. I go to Princeton University. on the infield, chatting up with a former teammate of mine, just kind of shooting the shit
God,
there.
I hated
And
racing at Princeton.
I
That
love it.
wind
Probably
tunnel.
from I love Princeton because of this.
Okay,
And
I figured that's the
you know,
only time.
when it's a good memory, then you run really well at the
Yeah,
facility.
yeah,
Oh,
then
yeah.
you like it.
And I think the time, I was racing, I say 7:30. And a current teammate of mine runs up to me. He's like, Trav, that's last year's schedule. We're racing at 6:30.
Oh
And it's
my
like
God.
6:10. Maybe 20 minutes to the start of the race. I ran like 8 minutes, didn't go to the bathroom, didn't have time to go to the bathroom. I put on my spikes. I do one stride over a barrier, and I was like, man, that felt really good. And Coach Matt Jelly, was at a different meet with the girls team, and then he was going to make his way over. But obviously he missed it because he thought it was an hour later. Go right to the front, feel good. I just go, and I'm like, you can't really. Looking at the clock and splits, a little bit more difficult in the steeplechase,
Sure.
and plus I was running a lot quicker than I knew. But I remember like thinking, all right, I just want to break 9, and I came over that last like barrier with 60, 70 meters. It's all like right around 8:30 on the clock, and I'm like, holy shit, I run 8:41, so I go from a guy
Nice.
who never made the regional meet to, at the time, it was NCAA number 2. So just like that, I just like went to a completely different place in terms of competition, meets that I was qualifying for, and things like that. And I remember getting on the phone and calling Jelly, and he'd never admitted it, but I called Jelly. I'm like, I ran 8:41, and he didn't believe me, which is very fair. I wasn't a judge. It's very fair. That makes no sense.
It's like,
And he
check the
didn't.
results, damn it.
Yeah, and
But it's like-
he did.
But it's like if you're gonna lie, why you say 841? Like you would have said like some kind of round number or something. You would have said 841.
Yeah, yeah. And he didn't believe me when he was talking on the phone. And then later he's like, no, I believed you. I knew you could do that. And I'm like, it's okay. That's not a natural progression.
I didn't think I could do it, so I understand.
And
If
the
you
difference
could.
is knowing you could do it, but not a 19-second jump do it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
understand like the talent was always there, but at Princeton, number 1, like that wind tunnel down
Listen,
the home stretch
Princeton
when the
must
wind
be
gets
good.
going, I hate it.
For these steeplechasers, because wasn't that last year where the guy got the
I think so.
Olympic standard was at a meet at Princeton?
Oh,
no,
that was
UPenn.
Penn. That was
UPenn. I'm
That was
sorry.
Penn. Yeah.
It
Which
was-
is
yeah,
a
it was
different
over at
facility
UPenn.
from when I ran into college. But yeah, I mean, it was not realistic jump, because I think that indoor season I had run only like maybe 8:30 in the 3K. So going out and running 8:41, and then I eventually,
Yeah.
took a big jump right there. And then I had a lot of good times at New Jersey New York Track Club at Gags. Probably my favorite running memory from that too is it was a really big breakthrough is right before the pandemic. I felt like I was just climbing the ladder from 2016 building to 2020. Every year I was just kind of stepping up that intensity and really timing that Olympic cycle well. And this is before the spikes, before all this stuff. I was in Hoka's first version of a track spike, so it's like probably equivalent to like spikes from like 2000. They've caught up, but it was
milers.
they were they were an ultra company at the time.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then they were transitioned, so the spikes were like whatever. But besides the point, it was still at BU. So why am I complaining? BU is amazing. So many athletes didn't have BU, but I got in a race and hopped on and had a big PB. I ran 7:41 for 3K, and at the time 7:45 was always like a lifetime goal of mine. Like I put some lifetime goals of mine out there, but then at that time it broke LaCorey's New Jersey state record.
Yeah.
I guess depending on not if you count Ches as like a New Jersey guy.
Right.
Some people do because he ran in New Jersey at the high school level, but obviously he's not from New Jersey, or a U.S. resident. But
I mean, Chez's records, if he ran in the high school, his high school's going to stand. He was in
Yeah,
high
correct,
school, so I
correct,
think
yeah.
kind of it's slippery slope, right?
Well, he ran faster than me, but anyways, going after LaCorey, I think was really like kind of cool.
Marty
And
LaCour,
that's-
legend.
Awesome.
Yeah. So it was like something I never thought that would ever be possible for me. And then to run 7:41 at the time, it was like maybe US 20 all time indoors, and I was like 3 seconds behind Jaeger that year, and then obviously the spring didn't happen. But it was like that was just such a big breakthrough for me that I felt like I had worked towards for maybe like 3 or 4 years, and it finally happened. And there was a lot of sacrifices from 2016 to that. I was coaching full time while doing that, and Yeah, it just really meant a lot to me.
I mean, so I always like to ask runners like you because you are incredibly humble. I can already tell, and like you've accomplished so much. Has it sunk in at all that you've done some really incredible things, right? Like you ran faster than freaking LaCory.
Right.
You were at the biggest stages. Like, I don't know, like Eugene has to be like a second home to you right now with how many times you traveled over there for like USATFs and trials and stuff. Have you taken the time to stop and think yet about all just like the dope things you've done and all the things you've accomplished in your career?
I mean, well, one, I think if LaCory had BU, he probably would have ran like 7:28. But um,
Possibly, yeah.
yeah, I think
Honestly.
Or not cinder
that,
track.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, just not.
yeah, yeah, just not cinder track. But I think naturally, as runners, you get to one level and then you want more, and you're kind of
Yep.
never satisfied. But
Uh-huh.
I think last year was a little bit of like a victory lap, or whatever you want to call it. For me, like that was really special. Last push, I was again coaching myself, training myself, and I think I has started to appreciate more maybe like the longevity of my career.
Yeah.
How many times I kept showing up, because at the end of the day, like you're trying to make a team, you're trying to make an Olympic team or a world championship team, and I tried and tried again and tried again and tried again, and just picking myself up that many times and the longevity I had to stay competitive for that long. I think everyone has maybe something their hat to hang on, and maybe that's mine. It's just that longevity there that I was able to stay competitive in the sport for such a long period of time. I came a long way from my high school self, but I think more than anything, obviously I think I am proud of that, and I feel like I'm also just proud of maybe all the people I've been around in the sport, whether it's like the high school kids I've hopefully had a good positive influence on and coached, and then just like being out of trials last year, just the gap of athletes or people, I should say, and humans that I'm out at trials with. It's guys that were freshmen in high school, sophomore in high school when I was coaching, and all the way up,
Wild.
all the way up to like collegiate coaches that were potentially even in high school when I first started. It's just like the range of people I spanned when I would go out into trials and I would bump into, was really cool. Then even on the younger side, in 2021, I ran for Ben Thomas for a year, and I went out to Eugene for like a month before because he was coaching me remote, and I trained with some of those guys, just lightly for like that month, like Cooper Cole, and he had a crew at Oregon at that time, and one of them came up to me and he's like, "Oh, when was your first USAs?" And I was like, "Oh, this is 2011." And he's like, 2011. He's like, "I was in the fourth grade."
That's like, all right, I got to get out of this training group yesterday. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
so
But
real quick, talk about that a little bit because, like I mentioned before, your mental toughness, I think, needs to be studied because you've had an incredible career. But obviously, that goal is let's get on a world team, let's get on an
yeah,
Olympic team, and you have been close. You have the talent, but it's like you've never gotten to that mark, right? So,
yeah.
what is that like having to continue to go because you've been doing it for a real long time? Was there evaluation moments where you're sitting there and thinking about the grind of having to again plan out a full 3 seasons? Because obviously you guys are looking at it in 2 year spans, right? So
Yeah.
okay, I got 2 more years to get ready for Worlds, 2 more years to get ready for Olympic trials. Like, so what is that process like? Of I know I'm talented enough, right? And it's just, we know track and field, it has to be right that race. That race could be the race that's perfect or the race that's a little off, and a little off at that level, usually leads to not making it. So, what is that mental side? Because we always like to talk to any of the kids that are watching here that it's like, you're someone who I don't think ever let a bad race define him. So, it's like, what was that part like?
Yeah, I think maturing is a big aspect of it. If I look over the span of my career from when I first started to when I ended, my physical peak and my mental peak probably don't align. I think I got a lot better towards the end of my career naturally from a mental side of things. But maybe if that mentality lined up with my physical training um, earlier in my career, maybe that happens. But I
Yeah.
think so much of the sport too is a little bit about timing and luck. right? So
100%.
if you are that really big outlier or stud, maybe you're making multiple teams and maybe you have the opportunity to make multiple teams. But then there's a lot of guys that are very talented or girls that are very talented,
Yeah.
but it only strikes once for you. And that's okay. It's hard, and there's a lot of people that are rolling and I think I fell into that and lightning didn't quite strike for me, but I think the maturing is what really helped me. Like in my first, had that breakout season in 2011, and I was so naive to think that like I would immediately have another breakout that following year and make like the Olympic team. That was such an unrealistic expectation of myself. And then it took me a little while to figure it out, because then it was like the next year I like went all in and like way too much to where it's like, no, view it from a couple of years and being patient.
Yeah.
I was young, but it just felt like the end of the world, right? Like that season, and that was it. And that also too, it's like, if you don't have a pro contract, like there's a lot more money in the sport. There's a lot more support in the sport. You were chasing those contracts, and it was really very much pinned on making a team or being top 5, whatever it may be. And I think I put a little bit way too much pressure on myself in that moment, and I let it get much bigger than what it was. Like I wasn't enjoying it in that realm.
Yeah.
And in 2016, that was like the pinnacle of it. Like I was in a pretty good place. I ran really well right before heading out and doing like an altitude camp. I came back and I put way too much on it, on my shoulders at trials. And I remember like finishing and kind of sitting in the lobby, almost just like kind of breaking down, and Gags just like trying to build me up. Like, you're not done. You're not done. You're not done. And that's when I kind of transitioned to coaching and then maturing a little bit. And that's when I was like, you know what? Look, let me just commit to this. At that point, I kind of had earned a contract for a couple of years, and it was enough. It wasn't anything crazy, but it was enough to like ease the pressure up a bit. There was still pressure because it was yearly contracts that I had to hit certain marks at USA's. But I was like, let me just commit to this a little bit long-term process and that build. And man, I just started to enjoy it more, and it wasn't as much pressure. And that's when I started to get claw myself a little bit closer. And that's when I made like an ACAC team, made a Pan American team, and then unfortunately, in 2019, I was doing really well, and I ended up running the 5K because I was a little banged up. And then 2020, and that's like when I was 29, 30, so right around kind of that peak. And then again, another shift happened after that trials, right? So it was like 2 different shifts, and then it was like, well, what's left for me? I still had the itch, and I was like, there's still more there. So then it just became solely, all right, like, why am I so focused? Obviously it's important, but why am I so focused on these, like the validation of making that team or whatnot? Like, what do I want out of it? And I was like, I put some time goals down that I wanted to achieve, my lifetime stuff. Like I wanted to break 820, I wanted to break 1320. And I'm like, but this is what I want to do at this point, right? I usually am process oriented, but these are some things that I just wanted to chase. And man, I just ran so free these last few years that I just found like a new love for it again, and it was really enjoyable. I mean, trials was tough last year, but can suck it up at my age a little bit better. Check the box for that stuff, and it's hard. It's really, you feel the weight of the world every year at USA's or trials, and you put a lot into it, and you feel like, and I tell the kids this all the time, you feel like you have all these external eyes on you, and going to be judging your performances. And that's how I felt earlier in my career. And then as you get older, you're like, you realize how much like love people have, and the sport too, as well, like on the higher level, it's really nice because most people will go home disappointed. So it's a pretty good community to be involved in. People understand, people support, and people that are around it. Yeah. Then they were like, who would bump me up and be impressed with my longevity and how long I competed at it. So majority is the biggest one.
I was gonna ask you, like, do you think if you didn't have that switch in mind frame where it became fun again and you were kind of running for your own goals, kind of like you said, that you would have been able to continue as long as you did? Or do you think having that freedom kind of helped you, like you said, refine that love for the sport and be able to just keep on going? Whereas maybe if you kept on compartmentalizing everything and made it so, life or death per se, that you wouldn't have been able to maybe run these last 5 years.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't have. And I think a big part of that was like I was coaching, and I think just their love for it. It was easy for me to take my mind off of it. Like, 2016, 2015, that's kind of when I went all in. And it was like, that was the only thing that was ever really on my mind. And it doesn't work well for me. It works well for certain athletes.
Yeah.
So,
you know what? But I definitely think, like coaching kids can really bring that passion and joy back. Cause like I get more excited for what my kids do than anything that I ever did. And
100%.
it just it just brings back the love. You're like, wow, like these kids, they're not running for a contract. They're just running just to find out the best that they can be and for the love of the sport. So did coaching really kind of bring back that love and really, oh, like this is why I do this sport because I love to compete and all that other stuff is great and everything, but I just want to love it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And they're so like fresh and like naive about the sport, and being naive is one of the best things you can
Oh
be.
yeah.
100%.
So yeah, it was a really good motivating factor for me, and that's something else that I preach to people is that motivation, it's gonna like come and go, and where you derive that motivation from is gonna change, and it's changed for me, not only in Olympic cycles, but maybe within the same year, and in terms of like why am I doing this, and that's okay, and that should change. You're going to need more fuel for the fire, or different fuel at some point of where you're pulling that motivation to keep on going. But at the end of the day, like honestly, being really happy, enjoying what you're doing is going to lead to really good performances. There's been times where I was training really well, and it was just like I wasn't that happy. It was tough. Maybe it was a tough environment. I was training on my own for a bit. That can beat you up. Where it's just like, man, it's a social sport. And we make it so much bigger than it needs to be, in terms of like how serious it is, and thinking all these like negative thoughts. Yeah.
I'm just
So
thinking about from your athlete's perspective. Like, how cool would it be? My coach is training for like that has to make them motivated too. Like seeing you out there, like I couldn't imagine like running for a coach who's out there running, like training for something like that had to be cool so that your kids, and that's probably why, not why, I mean, you're an awesome coach, but like just having that and seeing your athletes seeing you had to really help them too. And just make them really understand everything more about the sport because they were watching you.
Yeah, I think there was a level of respect there that they gave me because they knew what I was doing as well as coaching them, and they saw me getting in, maybe 15 miles before we went to short coaches, or getting a workout in before going down to the bubble. So I think there was just a level of respect, and their understanding that it's like, oh, I am really invested in them.
Yeah.
They knew I was invested in them, but I also was like, trying to do a lot on my own, in terms of my own running. And yeah, I had great support from the kids, great support from the parents. And yeah, I was really, really fortunate with that.
And those kids knew that you're going to be at every spot at Homedale. You don't need a bike. You're going to be there for every spot. Your coach is going to make it there.
You're going to beat everyone there.
Yeah, I'll be there.
Coach might win the actual race.
Absolutely.
So he's going to be there first.
Absolutely. And then for a while there, I was like motivated too, because I was trying to hold down the fort as the best distance jersey guy there for a while, and I was able to hold it down for a while. But now, maybe that's why I stepped away from this year, because Liam and Marco have gone a little bit crazy. I was able to still hold them off a bit last
a
year.
little bit.
I was so bummed that Marco couldn't go because he got sick, man.
Yeah, it is what it is. We're gonna see plenty of Marco. Don't worry.
Yeah.
I don't think Marco's going away anytime.
He does not
soon.
lack any confidence.
No.
That is for sure.
Yeah.
So throughout your career, obviously you've had a career that I think anybody would dream of in this sport, because it's hard to just stay fit for as long as you stayed fit to compete at an elite level. We've talked about your mental, but like you said, it's hard to keep getting those brand deals, even if they're minor enough that they're just keeping you to be able to pay a coach and something like that. But it's difficult to be able to do that. So what have been some of the major shifts in the sport that you have seen occur, whether it's all the new equipment, all the new apps, different shoes, going away from let's run races to let's just time trial 8 times a year to get the best seed? Like, what have been some of the shifts that you've noticed in the sport, and which ones do you like and which ones should we discard?
Yeah.
It's a loaded question. There's a lot there.
Yeah. I think there's been so many shifts that are happening at the same time, and that's why we're seeing it, right?
Yeah.
So if you even think before the pandemic, from a running social media perspective, that's boomed like crazy. Not only across all these different social media avenues covering the sport, but Strava and things like that. I remember when I first started coaching, I was trying to consume and learn as much as possible. And there were like a few sites you can go on and you can purchase maybe some documents or some PDFs, and you can read through them and things like that. now it's so easily accessible. I think a lot of coaches are willing to share as well. I had a week or two ago, I jumped on a call with Justin Rinaldi, who coaches like Josh Hoey and Peter Bowl. I actually talked to him back in 2020, and he shared with me, and I implemented a lot with that with the last kid I had over. It's at 150. So I think there's so much knowledge out there, what everyone is doing, how to apply it to. That's the big thing. It's like you would go and maybe you'd read through this PDF and you're like, all right, but you didn't quite understand why
philosophy
or the philosophy. It was really hard to just take that and apply it. Now you're not only understanding like the actual workouts, but why are we doing that? How do we find that for each kid, right?
Like what part of the cycle should this workout be in, right? Is this a preseason, regular, championship season phase type of thing?
Like, because how many coaches in the past just had like the Jack Daniels VO2 chart, but had no idea what it meant? Yeah. So, they're like trying to get workouts, but they don't understand what it means.
Also goes to show you how good Jack Daniels was, because even the most lost coach could use that and it would still end up producing a pretty good runner. Like Jack Daniels was ahead of his time in a lot of ways.
So like this, that is fantastic. But on the same flip of the coin, you're talking about what should we throw away? Well, I do think a lot of people are looking for, since they're searching through that social media, searching through that training, they're looking for like a magic pill a lot of times. And it's still the same training and same philosophy. Like philosophy still like works the same, or physiology, I say, works the same. It doesn't change. And it takes a while to become a pretty good distance runner. And it's very boring training that's very repetitive for a long time. And people don't want to hear that. They want to hear like just the one workout. And it's like, all right, but that's one of 3 hard workouts in a 12 or 14 week build. That doesn't really hold much weight unless you have the whole picture. And then also on the social media front, there is so much poor information. I wouldn't say as much for like the high school kids, but definitely for any like marathoners out there. There's all these people that pick up their shoes a year or two ago, and next thing you know, they're telling you, oh, I don't take any carbs on any of my long runs, so you shouldn't either. Or no, you shouldn't ever run faster than this, or follow my speed workout.
The novice runner gets screwed with all this stuff too, because I like to look at it and it's like, they'll try to be like, don't do this stride, do this stride. And it's like, I'm looking at it going, number one, that's wrong. And number two, when it comes to just running, there's certain mechanics we want to see, but God, everybody's stride is different. And, just go watch a elite marathon and just go see if you can catch 2 of the people running similar at all. Like everyone kind of has like, go run like Connor Mance and see if you could survive 10 steps. He's in pain every single step he takes.
Or like Quincy Wilson, like the kid's 17 running 44 flat. Like, I think it's okay. I think it's okay that his arms flap some. Like, what are you gonna do? Like,
as long as he's not hitting anybody in the other lane, he's good.
Yeah, you know what? Fixing form is so annoying. I see that because it's such a big talking point, and it grabs. That's the thing. It's like a lot of these creators are rewarded for this because it causes controversy or talking. So like, fixing form. It's like, and I'm a big preacher, and like, unless you have some guy who's like really really knowledgeable and maybe a really good like sprint coach. Like if you're just running and you're doing your drills and your sprints and your strides, your form's naturally going to just gravitate to what is efficient for you. And unless it's really causing some crazy issue and you need to go see some like specialist, you shouldn't be going out the door and trying to run differently. Like, if you're doing drills or you're doing strides or doing whatever, small cues, but just going out and like trying to land on your toes is idiotic. Idiotic.
There's minor universal things that you might want to give hints at. It's like, don't run like Quincy Wilson. I wouldn't run like him. Like, honestly, like if I'm asking anyone and I'm watching his form, I'm like, don't do what he does. It works for him. Don't do what he does. That is wasteful and terrible form. But I'm not trying to fix a kid that can run 44-1. Like, it's like, this is a trade-off.
I think you said something very, very important, because I've talked to a bunch of high school coaches, and there's so many people and sites and influencers that we want our kids to not watch, to stay away from. Like, I mean, luckily you're one of the ones that we send our kids to. Like, hey, because you just break it down and you don't try to make any magic. You're like, this is what it takes. It's honest. But like, so we definitely appreciate all that you're there. I want to ask you really quick. I just high school kids, what the hell is going on? Like, what do you think is like what the heck are we seeing? Like Now you run like a 156. It's like you're not winning a thing. You can't
Yeah.
sniff any. It's crazy. Like you
Yeah.
even running meet a chance with that.
Yeah.
5-10 years ago. Like, what do you think we can attribute to, like what we saw yesterday? A 142-2 for us. I mean,
And you
Yeah.
try and say Cooper's
that
last
might
name?
be the Cooper Luton House or something. I
Luton
can't.
House, yeah.
I'm gonna butcher, but I mean, he's obviously the outlier. But like you said, the
Yeah.
32 kids breaking 150 this year in high school. I mean,
Yeah.
we had to have 10 or maybe close to that under 4, right? I mean, it's like
Well,
Yeah.
how many kids ran sub 10 this year too in the 100? It's still, it's
We
right
had
there too, is a lot.
we had teammates break 4. 2 kids on the same high school team break 4. Like, what do you think
Yeah.
all this is from? Do you think it's just better coaching? It's better shoes, or do you just think it's just like, I don't know? Is it bicarb? Or like what do you think is going on here?
Yeah, again, it's just like such a large mixture of things. Like, let's take it back to like when we were in high school, right? You knew a couple of guys in the area. You knew the guy you're maybe going to face at the sectional meet. Maybe you saw what was in the paper. Had no idea what they were doing. No performances outside of maybe your small bubble, right? So that motivational factor, right? So now kids are motivated to train because they're seeing what everyone else is doing to train. So that's a big one, right? So now that motivation is there from early on because you're seeing what your competitors are doing. So you're out the door, getting your runs done, getting your training in. Yeah, and I talked to one of another Old Bridge alum that's running post collegiately, has me out. He's a 146 800 meter runner now, and I was iffy about getting into being a high school coach, going into online coaching space, and his big point to me was like, look, like we were so insanely fortunate of the coaches that we had. And any kid that's on a team with a good coach and a good program isn't going to be looking for that private coaching, right? But say if me and you were at a random school that didn't have great coaches, we would have just fell through the cracks. We would have never made it out, never made it to college, never had the careers that we had. So that is a big thing too. Now there's a lot of online coaching now.
Yep.
Or even if you don't have an online coach, you can go online and figure it out. You can freaking tell GPT, and it's probably going to get you 70% of the way there. So that access, right now you have a deeper pool of athletes. The shoes are fantastic from a recovery aspect.
Insane.
These kids are staying healthier. I remember going out with traditional flats. If I did 10 by K, as a professional, if I did 10 by K at threshold, my legs were still thrash. Like I wasn't coming back in the evening for another session. I was probably tired the next day. Now, by the time I'm cooled down, my legs have no fatigue, so it's just building that cardiovascular system. So kids are staying healthier. So now we have depth of athletes increasing because there's more kids that have access to good training. We have depth of athletes increasing because more kids are staying healthier. And then a ridiculous amount of high quality meets that kids are racing, both at the high school level and pro. So these kids are taking shots.
It's time trials. Yep.
And time trials, like when I coached even up to 2021, it was pandemic year, but when I first came on board and I had coached kid Ray Rivera his senior year, he really only had one opportunity to run fast or compete against the nation's best, and that was nationals. And what would normally happen is all those kids would come together, and there was some good talent that year. You had the Cooper kid from Ohio that was like a 147 kid. You had the McGordy kid who ran 148 as a junior. And they're only squaring off once or twice a year at the national meet. So, and a lot of times what that would happen is that would naturally leave a lot of nerves, and it would become a tactical race because they hadn't done it, right? So who's going to be the guy to do it? But now these kids are coming together in these big races, and a lot of them have high school pacers in them, and they're taking shots at each other because they
have NIL deals. Like they're getting signed.
There's money in the sport.
I hate high school pacers. I really do. I think that's such a joke. Go race.
But like if you were coaching Ray Rivera now, you'd be out at Brooks meet out west because that's where everyone goes. I mean, we had so many kids from Jersey this year go out there, and why not? Why not go out there?
He would run 146. Like he could have run 147 probably mid or low even in back then. Like not even just different. Not even me having more knowledge now. Just give him those race opportunities and today's
shoes and the spikes
and everything.
But I mean, I think one other thing that I noticed, at least here in the shore area, so many kids run with kids from other teams. My
Yes.
coach
Yeah.
would have forbidden.
Yes.
Like it was like, no, we don't do that. You don't talk to them. You don't run. So like, there's such more of a camaraderie between like you'll see any day on Strava, so and so from this school running with so and so
Yeah.
from this school. Like, so I think that helps too. Is that there's a lot more communication and there's a lot more knowledge between the athletes. And I mean, part of me is like, I feel like, I mean, I can't say that they don't compete as hard because they do. It's just different. Like there's not that like rivalry or that like just pure hatred anymore. Like
We're
I
seeing
went,
some of it. We're seeing some kids push each other and stuff on the track. Because
Yeah.
honestly, I think we're also seeing kids that are now seeing NIL deals and they really want to fight for that. And I
Yeah,
think
no,
that's a
for
part of it.
sure.
That's the big part of it that, they know that a big performance at Acadia, winning Acadia, could lead to an NIL deal from Brooks, from Puma, from
Yeah.
whatever. And if you get noticed, and a few observations, what you said. Number one, I love that the kid you're training kind of guilt tripped you into training him, where he was like, I do love that. Number two, I think something you said that's actually pretty profound a little while ago is that this is a community sport ultimately, right?
Yeah.
And that I think leads to another thing you said about kids seeing other kids now being able to run fast. And that's part of the community, right? Is looking at it going, why not me? Like looking at a kid who just ran, say I'm a 154 kid, and I look at this kid who just ran 150 flat and their workout's the same as mine on Strava. And it's like, wait a minute, I can absolutely do that. And I think,
Yeah.
like you said, that's a big mental shift because we didn't
self-belief
know.
is
We
big.
had no
Yes.
idea what workouts other kids were doing. Yeah, they might have had similar times, but
No
we
idea.
raced completely different. We didn't know what their coaches were doing with them and
I
all
went to high
that. Now you know it all.
I went
Yeah,
to high
even
school
even on the pro
90s.
level.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I went to high school 90s. Like I didn't have the internet. I had no idea like what
You were
anybody
still
was doing.
sending smoke signals.
No, I'm not that old, but like now here's my other question because I was thinking about this today. In 10 years from now, will we see this as a good thing or will it be too much, too young, too soon? Like, do you think that these kids will have longevity or do you think they'll kind of burn out and teeter? I mean, I don't know. I'm curious where we're going to be in 10 years because it's almost like high school has become college now. Like it's just become like your whole lifestyle is
Yeah.
based upon running. So like, do you think 10 years, like this will all be positive and we'll just keep progressing more? Or do you think it would be like, oh man, maybe we kind of went a little too much too quick?
We're going to be cyborgs, so it's not going to matter.
I think, we might have some dips in here, but I overall think it is a good thing and how the sport's progressing. The money in the sport, it is great. I do think you're seeing the shift where high school kids are kind of like training like college kids, but I think we're already seeing like it's not slowing down that progression. They're just getting better earlier, right? So I think previously maybe we, as a U.S. system, we were a little slow into the development. We were peaking later, and I think now you're seeing right like purely just from like a distance perspective. I think like 15 to 10K, whatever it may be. At some point, I think what previously would happen was like, you're kind of a little bit speedier and then you add more strength, you add more mileage, and then you're a little bit better in your later 20s.
Yep.
Now that these kids can stay healthier, stack training more consistently and quicker, they're hitting that aerobic peak, I think maybe earlier in their career where it matches up with that anaerobic system peak of maturity. Because I think naturally sprinters are going to peak a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you're seeing, right? So now you're seeing like previously, when I was, professional too, like you also didn't hear what any other groups were, but like Bowerman would come in and dominate. There was no way any college kid was ever going to compete in the 5K or 10K with a Bowerman athlete because their training was at such an insanely high level comparatively. Now that's not the case. College kids are mixing it up on the U.S. scene and on the pro scene. And you see, like even like Nico Young, he's 1 year removed from college and he's running 12:44. Previously, to get to like obviously the times have shifted, but just to get to the level he's at wouldn't usually happen until another 3 or 4 years. But now it's happening earlier.
Do you think there's a difference in the confidence of the coaches, especially on the American side as well? Because like for so long, we had the African nations dominating anything from the 15 to the 10K, but they were all coming to train in Colorado forever, right? They were all here at altitude. And I know it was always a part of it, but it's become such a big part of training now. And have you seen just the difference in the way the coaches are doing it as well at the pro level, just from the bird's eye, where they're kind of mimicking more of what they see while molding it into their own style.
Yeah, I think more of those coaches are all kind of doing similar stuff now too, just as like the high school level. And I think with how the tech is, it's gone almost like more simplistic. Like obviously, if you're a distance guy, you're doing a lot of threshold now, and there's so many ways to monitor that and stack that, and you can stack that now because of the shoes. But going back to even the high school kids, where do I see it in 10 years? Is it going to be really Is it going to be beneficial? And I think, I think the depth of athletes allows these kids to be a little bit more fearless because there's so many people mixing it up. And look at it on a bad side, like, oh, there's someone running a fast performance every day, every weekend. But at the same time, it allows you to, like, you have a poor result, you're back the next day and it gets flushed down really quickly. And I think previously for a while there, probably a little bit after I left high school, you would have these one or two studs in the nation.
Yep.
There's a lot of pressure and spotlight on those athletes, and they rarely ever panned out. And I think because of that. But now, even some of the best guys there's not a spotlight. Obviously, Cooper's in one, but I think you have 10 sub-4-minute milers. You probably couldn't even name them all.
Nope.
So it's easy to not have the pressure of the world on you from the running community. Right. And I think these kids are just getting up to a maturity level from a mental maturity level sooner. Right. And I think that's really beneficial because of the depth and everything like that. And there is a lot of money in the high school and college. And it makes sense when you think about it, because from a marketing perspective, if I'm a brand or if I'm a company, there is so much attention around the schedule of racing. There's so much attention around the national meets and stuff and all these media companies. So yes, that's perfect. Whereas a pro, it's like you don't even, they're running at these random college meets and then USAs, and that's it.
I mean, so like, not just like Alex and I talk like, hey, wouldn't it be great to get some high school kids in now? Because then when they get good, when they're older, like they'll remember we're on. So like everyone's trying to get a piece of everyone in a sense, So, but I also think that, like you said, with the high school coaches, when I was in high school, there were no easy days. It was just hard. So kids were getting burnt out. I feel like the coaching philosophy is like, there's so much more of a factor on kids need rest. So you're not burning them out at the high school level. They still have so much left when they get to next level because coaches are so much smarter. They're still running as fast, but they're doing it in a way where we can give rest to a 15-year-old kid. So I just think that the whole training philosophies of coaches has really, because you used to have kids that were great in high school and then they were just burnt. You don't really have that now because there's not that emphasis on you have to go. Like, we went hard every single day. Our distance runs were just racing each other for 10 miles. Then we get on the track. Now, like, coaches are really smart. Like, no, don't run fast in this. And kids have watches and all this technology. They can check. Like, I had no idea what my heart rate was when in high school when I was running. I mean, I had no idea.
I didn't care either.
I wouldn't have known. I mean, maybe we could have got one of those Garmins that like went around your like chest back in the day, but like
yours would have weighed you down.
I know, but like there's just so much of a different philosophy in coaching now. I think everyone's just so much more in tune with maybe what the other countries have been doing for a while, and we're really catching up now. Like, our high school kids are as good as any other nation. It's
and I think the confidence in that, right? So I think previously you might have not had confidence or as much confidence in what you were doing, so you were going out and pushing things and testing the limits. Whereas now, you do see what everyone else is doing and how they train and also with the shoes, you're talking about training hard. I think now, like, just even with the shoes and stuff, we're almost kind of training easier because of that, right? Like, if I'm going out there and doing 10 by K at the same pace as I was previously before the shoes, there's a differential in not only the pace in terms of being easier, but also like the wear on the body. So, it's like, if I were to go back, I would have to slow down my training a lot if I was using those, old tech, but easy days. And I think people are just controlling it. And you're seeing a big shift too. And I think it's purely mental. Whereas, like, there was just this huge emphasis all the time of like not burning out too soon. And there's like this big stressor on it. We made such a big thing about like peaking. I think we're starting to see like, peaking such a small, fine detail of it. And it is really important, I love Ben Thomas. He was a really good person when he coached me for that year. He only coached me for a little bit remote, but such a nice guy. Got me out to Oregon for a month to train there, got me right, had dinner with his family. He was just a very welcoming guy. Absolute fantastic in terms of peaking, but that is so difficult to do. And he is very good at it, it's so hard. But now you're seeing like that you can be doing and staying in pretty good shape in terms of specific training all year round. I mean, just look at Ethan Strand, for example, right?
Yeah.
He almost wins USA's. He takes second. He took top 10 in cross country back in November. He ran like 7:30 in December, 3:48 in January. He's been running so well for so long, and I think we're just dispelling that from our belief in our mind. And I think kids, similar to a lot of other things that they've knocked down in terms of barriers that we may have faced mentally, they're not facing these because it just go out there and run. And I think the training in part of that, right? If you're training really hard, yeah, you eventually cook yourself and you got to take a rest. But I think if you're appropriate with like the type of training you're doing, and the dosage of that intensity, you can be pretty damn close to your peak fitness for most of the year.
Yep.
That's awesome. So, that type of stuff is fun and that's
Yeah.
good. Now I'm going to kind of be a Debbie Downer here because I'm going to shift away from kind of that. And I want to talk about, you talked about how like there's more money coming in on the NIL side, high school kids, college kids, obviously NCAA and the government just passed a rule about, schools being able to pay kids and they're doing rules for NIL. So I think we're in a weird spot where as money's slowly starting to come in, we're possibly going to see the sport get hurt at the collegiate level. We're already seeing it with roster limits. Schools are cutting their programs,
or they're going to one
discipline style, sprints, distance throws, whatever. I can't see this being positive for the high school level because if there's less opportunities, then less kids are going to want to participate in the sport at the high school level, right?
Yeah.
So what do you see happening? Because right now, track is in a good spot. We've had the best Worlds and Olympics performance for Team USA that we've ever had back to back, where Team USA was dominant on both levels. This year at USATF, it really doesn't look like it's slowing down. We're sending a damn good team to Worlds again. On both the men's and women's side, we have Valerie Allman, who's the most dominant discus thrower in the world right now.
Ridiculous.
So where do you see this sport going? It's in such a weird spot where there are shoe companies now willing to throw money at high school kids and college kids that they think are going to be good. But at the same time, we're getting crackdowns on roster limits. And obviously the money that is going to go to these big schools is not going to go to your track kids unless they are, the top on Oregon or some of these big schools, right? So where do you see the sport in general with all that's going on and seeming to go in different directions colliding?
Yeah, it's really tough and it's interesting. I go back and forth on this. I think the high school system has proven to be really good. So are there improvements that can be made? Obviously, of course. I think, there's a little too much racing on the schedule. I think us as New Jersey schools, coaches, athletes probably go a little too much on indoors. And we
take pride in how much we race.
Yeah. and
especially indoors.
Easing off that. But I think, I was curious after COVID. I was like, is the high school sport scene for our sport going to shift a little bit more club oriented? Right. We've seen that model does work in other countries.
Yep.
And then same thing for, is some of the sport going to shift club where people getting to it at a younger age because, you gotta work for these spots now and these scholarships, or is there a place anchored between high school and the universities, right? Mm-hmm. Is there clubs where these kids are joining at a high school to train for a couple of years and then they go to collegiate system? I don't know, because then you're putting on hold maybe college or maybe your profession and things like that. I'm not sure. I'm interested to see how things unfold over the next few years. I really hope things kind of settle a little bit and there's a little bit of a rebound effect for those opportunities at the collegiate level and more opportunities at the collegiate level. I think our NCAA system's fantastic, and it's proven. Every single one or not every single one, but almost most. If you look at probably the 815, distance side of the sport at USA, is probably most people that made Worlds came through the NCAA system.
Sure.
Yeah.
So
it's big. That's a big.
Do you think with all these roster limits, that's because the way I look at it, you're not running 410 in a couple of years. You're not going to go to a big time D1 school or even so. But I do think that it can really help the D2, D3 JUCOs and because there's phenomenal coaches everywhere. I always tell kids, like, Find a program and a coach that works for you. So do you think that we will see a more of an influx at those lower divisions because kids are just going to be like timed out? Like they're just not going to be like, you don't run 4:10, you're just not going to have a shot.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing because those kids are going to get a little bit more individual attention. There's not going to
Exactly.
be as much pressure from like a performance standpoint. And yeah, I mean, we talk about at the high school level with the knowledge of training that's gone around. There's so many good coaches out there. There's probably arguably a lot of better coaches at those
Sure.
levels than at the D1 level.
We talked to Philip Redrick over here, the Pratt JUCO coach over at Pratt Community College. He's incredible. And you know, and you find those diamonds in the rough.
Yeah, and when you go into that system, it's probably a little bit more patient in terms of your development.
Yep.
What I'm curious what happens with that is like, do they get into a good system? Do they get into a good training and progressing really well, and then jump ship, right?
Which I think is I mean, to me, but even that's hard now because there's so much coach movement. Like coaches are not staying. Like you'll have a coach one day. Like we've had so many kids on here. Like I went to the school for that coach, and that coach is gone. Like so, I feel like that there's this whirlwind. If you don't know where the coach is going to be, you don't know. Like Washington State is now an only distance school.
Collegiate coaches need to be penalized. Collegiate coaches, if they have a contract the same way, now the transfer portal athletes can just go and compete. They used to have to at least sit a season or a year. I think we need to see something with collegiate coaches where if they transfer, they can't coach that year. If it's within a contract, right? Or they can't coach for the duration. I do, because it's crap. You can't sit there. Like if a coach gets fired, that's a different scenario.
But that's their livelihood. Like they have the right to pick and choose where they want to go.
But if you breach a contract, there's always a penalty.
Yeah.
There's always a penalty for breach of contract.
If it's in the contract, fine. But I don't know.
I think they need to restructure those better.
Yeah.
For the athletes too.
Yeah. But I see Carl asked
Coach Torture coming in here.
Yes, everyone peeking. Yeah. I mean, obviously I've only coached for a certain amount of time. I was fortunate to have some good athletes. I think I felt like I did a good job with my athletes peaking, and then looking at it from the pros scene that I've come across. Again, even when I was out in Oregon with Ben Thomas that month leading up to trials, I realized I think a lot of times, especially at the high school level, I think the mistake is trying to peak and trying to squeeze in, some final tune-up sessions or some final hard efforts, when it should be the opposite. I think when you're racing a good bit towards the end of the season, those become higher quality races, and maybe you're doubling and you're getting a really good stimulus. And at that point, it's just we'll let them recover more than previously because it's a little bit earlier in the season. So I think a lot of times the mistake is as you get towards the end of the season, you try to go a little too far.
Coaches did a little too antsy with that taper.
Yeah, where it's just
let the taper happen.
Yeah, just all right, they just had a really good weekend at group meet. And obviously it's shifted now, right? Because now we're back to a Wednesday meet of champions. But if you have that week off, it's just come back, do something really just let them absorb that workout and absorb that weekend of racing and get to the next one rather than trying to squeeze another session in, because it's a gamble and it does sometimes pay off and it doesn't. And then I think the confirmation for me was, that was something I just kind of came across as I was coaching naturally. I would almost go to this a reload week of aerobic stuff, and then they'd run well. And then my confirmation when I was with Ben Thomas, I remember it was right before Olympic trials in 2021. It was like Cooper Tier, it was Cole Hawker. I forget the Australian's name, but he ended up making the Australian Olympic team in the 800, and me and another steeplechaser. So 800 to steeplechase, maybe a week before, 10 days out. We went to one of the trails there. It wasn't pre-trail, it was the other one, on wood chip trails, and we did 6-800 set tempo pace, and then we went to the track and did 9 strides, 800 to steeplechase, and then PB in the 800, made the Olympic team. Cole won trials. Cooper had a fantastic race, taken I think he took 4th or 5th. I PR'd, the other steeplechaser PR'd, and we just backed off and just let our bodies absorb and recover.
Yeah,
right. And the philosophy is what you do that day doesn't really affect you until about 2-ish weeks from now, right? So it's you can only hurt yourself being that close to a performance, right?
Yeah.
You're exhausting your body while it's trying to take in the work you did a week ago, 2 weeks ago, to truly put in. So if you're trying to get the best out of that weekend, right? It's not like you don't do anything. You want to move your legs a little, like you said. You did some tempos, did some strides, got the legs moving a little past, a quick trot, but it still didn't tire them out. And obviously, it's what these shoes are doing too, right? Because even back in the day on our regular trainers, right? Like those tempos, you'd still feel it, right? Like you're still running a tempo, your legs would still be tired and things, and you would need those strides to shake them out. Where now with these great shoes, you're not feeling it as much. Like the recovery is just so much better. I think I'll get a pair of super shoes.
Yeah.
Because I need to see what they feel like.
They're nice.
They're nice, yeah. But I think peaking for high school athletes, I think, is easier than the pros because like take Josh Hoey, like Josh Rinaldi is an unbelievable 800-meter coach, but you don't have races, so you're trying to find this fine line of sharpening versus overdoing it a little bit.
100%.
And he had a crazy workout that was up. He did 2 crazy workouts. I was actually at Hoey Farms when he paced his brother, ran 600 and 116, did some 500-meter threshold work, came back and ran a 113 600, and I was like, God damn, this guy's gonna run 140. and then I saw a workout posted where he did 3 400s in like 48 47 49. I was like, wow, that's another big intensity. And you're right, you are. And the thing is, like, you have to chase that because the U.S. is so good in 800 meters, riding that fine line. Whereas high school, I think it almost takes care of itself because you're racing. So at that point, I just think the focus point is just recovery.
And the pressure right now, and specifically with Hoey, like you said, how good the 800 is right now, a 142 doesn't necessarily guarantee you getting a top 3.
No.
Like that is insane.
143.1 was 5th.
143.1 was 5th, but it's like even and if you go and you run 141 at Worlds or the Olympics, that gets you 4th with the American record in Bryce Hoppel. So it's like I can understand pressing at that level. And, even with the 15, you look at, yes, they didn't go out as hard. 142 is obviously world quality. The 15, though, we said before the show, a 330, which used to be running away and winning any of the world's Olympic trials, just Nats used to be running away with 330.
Sure.
They ran a 330, and all of us here are like, well, Yared Naguse didn't do enough. It's like, it's a 330. Like 335 is still elite in the world. 330 should be enough. But again, you have guys going out there running 330, and it's just American middle distance is at such a different level right now, and it doesn't seem to be slowing down. I'm incredibly happy with it.
And track fans, I almost sometimes use the professional, not so much for like I never use it for like their training to like make an example to kids because it doesn't apply. But I think just making them human and understanding like try to satisfy external people and external things is not worth your time and energy. And you look, it's like the critics are never satisfied. All right, Naguse goes out, he front runs, he gets beat. Why'd he front run? Blah blah blah. I guarantee if he went and he didn't lead and he didn't make the team, you just ran X, Y, and Z. Why wouldn't you front run?
Exactly.
And then same thing. And then same thing with like Cole Hawker. It's just like you can't. It's like there's always and Centro. I'll use both of them because they're both Olympic gold medalists. Centro, which is like people don't have not a clue how hard it is to in the pressure of an Olympic final front run and hold off everybody.
I don't care
the whole entire. It's the most impressive performance ever, and he was an amazing tactician, and he was so fun to watch. And he did run fast times, just not crazy.
He's a 330 guy, right? Yeah, he's one of the best in the world to ever do it, and he could have done it.
Yeah, but then the people complain, oh, it was a slow race, and he never ran anything fast. Even more so impressive, he outperformed himself and did what was best for him to win on the day.
100%.
And then Cole, it's like people are giving, oh, he hasn't won this or that since he was a one-hit wonder. Well, who cares? He's Olympic champion and Olympic record holder.
And now he's the U.S. champ in the 5K.
Yeah.
Which is insane because I think he followed up his Olympics and his next race, he went and ran like a 329. So it's like, but he didn't win that race. I think it was with friggin' Kerr and a few other people that went and ran 328. So it was like right there again. So it's like, come on, guys. Like, and I think like we've reset our thought process at every level at what's special, right? Like we'll take the mile, for example, the mile 15. 4 minutes in high school is still a monster time, but we are so used to it that we're looking at it going, oh, okay, another high schooler broke 4. And then when you get to college,
oh my God,
you're sitting there and for the 15, it's like, oh, okay, I guess that guy ran a 337. It's like, what do you mean? That's a collegiate kid running a 337 in the 15. He's sub 340. Right. That is incredible. But we're looking at it and we're so spoiled. Like they're winning in 334 at college. And it's like, that is mind blowing that they
Yeah.
are at world elite times. But it's like the reset, and I think we do
Well,
have to retrain our minds a
Yeah, I
little
mean, it's
bit
crazy. I
because
mean,
it's crazy.
like we said, like you go to BU, there might be, though I think it was 2 years ago, there were 73 people who broke 4 minutes in one meet.
Yeah.
Like what?
And indoor too,
Yeah.
which is even harder.
Yeah, but that's not indoor
No,
there.
BU
That's just some
is
magic
faster than
little.
outdoors.
Yeah,
The
BU is
magic
faster than
carpet.
outdoors.
We've been calling it the magic carpet forever. That is what it
Look,
is.
it is stupid fast. My mile, 3K, 5K PR, all from there. It is, for most guys, it's faster than the outdoor track for sure.
Yeah, 'cause
I
It's
thought
a
I
controlled
enjoyed the
environment every
armory.
time.
I thought I
Oh.
enjoyed the armory when I first ran on it. Then I ran at BU and I'm like, I hate the armory. Like it is so hard. It hurts.
Yep.
BU, like I think they might have just taken like because BU just resurfaced not too long ago. I'm convinced that all the companies they didn't put any carbon plates. They just put the pieces of BU in
BU.
all these shoes, and it's like Bitcoin. There's only a finite amount of shoes made with BU Mondo. Like that's what we're getting in all these training shoes. Like it is wild just how great that place is. But Torchia, Coach Torchia, really quick, coming in with one more good question right here. Thoughts on the importance of sleep and nutrition, and how much sleep would you recommend?
Yeah, I mean, sleep is huge. Nutrition, I think more than anything, is just getting enough fuel and not really nitpicking like exactly how it is. They just need to be eating enough. I think like that's like the biggest thing is like I was helping out coach like even Westfield sprinters for a few years, and I remember taking them to the weight room and be like, who ate breakfast today? And like 2 of them raised their hand, right? So not so much of like what it is, but of
Right.
just like getting it in. And then sleep is so important. I mean, everyone's a little bit different with the sleep, but these you should be getting at least 8 hours.
Right.
I mean, when I was training heavy, obviously like later in my career, life and being an adult and working is a little bit more important. But yeah, I mean, trying to get as much as I could, 8 hours of sleep. Sometimes I would take a nap in between runs and things like that. As much as you can sleep, and just making sure you are eating enough, just getting 3 meals in. A big jump in the sport from a distance perspective is the consumption of carbohydrates around performance as well. That was purely a marathon thing, consuming any type of water, any type of fuel, gels. Now that's a big thing. We're seeing these kids consuming these carbohydrates, these pros consuming these carbohydrates within the training session. After the warm up, before the intervals, between the intervals, after the workout, they're getting 60, 90, 120 grams of carbs in their system.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about, like we had on Sinclair Johnson, she was, talking about bicarb. I mean, that seems to be a huge thing now with kids. So, I mean, I know some kids take it, and I guess I've never taken it. I don't think that any of my kids have yet. But so that just kind of, from what I heard, just kind of like baking soda with a few extra things in it.
Yeah. I go back and forth on this. People a couple of people came after me in the comments because it was covering some nutritional and some like supplementation stuff, and I was like, I don't think high school kids need to be taking it, and people came at me, but I stand by that because even at the elite level of these high school kids, it is such a small percentage of the population that's participating in the sport, and I don't know, just it's bicarbonate, so it's sodium bicarbonate. So yes, it's baking soda. It is a high dose of sodium. You're taking between 4,000 to I think 8,000 milligrams of sodium as well.
It can hurt your stomach, man.
That's a lot.
It can mess your stomach bad.
Yeah, and to me, I think the reason I wouldn't recommend it to most high school kids, and look, like if I bicarb was the thing when I had those 2 studs, probably because they were also very diligent and dialed in about their nutrition, their hydration, and were really bought in, and they were pushing the upper limits, right? But most kids, I just think if you're really looking for that bicarb, you're searching for that
magic in a bottle. Yeah.
But I mean,
exactly.
We're going to find out the gastrointestinal issues that we might see some coming back, and it's like
Ozempic, between all this stuff.
Yeah, we're going to come back and we're going to see like, hey,
and at the end of the day,
bicarbs all the time.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, if the parents and kids want to do that, that's fine. But I still feel a little bit unsure if that should be recommended from a coaching perspective. Obviously, kids are doing it. If they do it on their own, they do it on their own. They do it with their parents, that's fine.
It's almost hard, if a kid's like, hey, I want to do it, and you're like, I don't know if you should, but they're like, well, every other kid that I'm racing against is taking it. You know, it's
Yeah.
like
It
trying
works
to.
though. I mean, it does.
Oh, sure, yeah. I mean, especially if you take you take it on workout days and race days, right? Like you don't take it for your
Yeah. So
for
I
your
mean,
for
I
your run.
tried it last year in a workout, and then I trialed. I didn't try it. So the thing that I noticed about it from a beneficial standpoint for myself, I am slow. I am slow as shit. Like the fastest I've ever been able to run a flying 400 is like 52 mid, and
Which is
for
crazy
me,
to think that you're that
but
fast of
that
a
it is,
3K guy,
because
right?
like
That is crazy. Yeah.
I'm in the Olympic trials prelim for the 5K, and those guys close in 52 to 53.
Yeah.
That's my all out when I was 5 years
They're
younger.
doing it over barriers.
Yeah, yeah. So, but relative, like my anaerobic system, I'm very much an aerobic guy, so I don't probably produce that much in terms of high lactate values, as like a good 800-meter guy would be. On the flip side, the kid Nick Medeiros that I coach that's at Georgetown, he would run an 800 in high school and puke his brains out for 30 minutes, right? And he has since used bicarb, and it works. It really works for him. But anyways, I used it. What I noticed was I took it, but after I do a really hard session, obviously your body's really beat up from doing speed. It's like foreign to me.
Yeah.
I felt like I recovered coming off of it.
Yeah,
And that's always been my issue. If I running around, and then 2 days later having to go again. And there was such a benefit. I felt so much better coming off of that workout, taking the bicarb, because as I did a mile specific workout, and I probably put a lot of junk in my legs and a lot of junk in my blood, that helped buffer it. So it probably helped me get to a recovery or more kind of baseline quicker.
Yeah, it's an interesting topic at that age. I mean, there's nothing illegal about it. It's just,
No.
yeah. I mean, you're right. It's kind of like a moral thing, I suppose.
It is
in
crazy
some way, you know?
to mix the super shoes and that recovery with bicarbs. Like like honestly, you could just go run a second workout right after, because like you're not feeling anything, right?
We're gonna
Like,
be
so
robots
like,
soon. You're right. Like we're gonna have all these things in our system, and we're just gonna be like
listen, when the
mechanical robots.
neurochips stuck in our skull, they're
But,
just gonna have a superhuman run. We're all gonna be able to run 3 flat miles, because that's it. We're gonna all be.
But I think you are seeing it shift at the 800 level. I mean, look at 800 at the U.S., look at the 800 at the world, look at the 800 at the high school level. That's been the latest change. Has been the bicarb. So
do you think it's going to
hand in
be
hand.
outlawed at some point? Because even
I
though
don't-
it's
I
even
don't-
though
I
it
don't-
can be natural, it is
doesn't
kind of
really-
a supplement, right? Like
But it
in a
doesn't
way.
like change your like body chemistry.
Correct. Yeah, I think
Okay.
I think from a gray line area, if I would classify gray line stuff as a pro, I never had a prescription. I never had a TUE. If you guys know what TUEs are, therapeutic use excuse.
Yep.
I think that gets very gray zone. If you have thyroid medication, inhaler, TUE for prescription to have essentially an excuse.
Well, I mean,
illegal
I
drug.
know he's persona non grata, but Alberto Salazar was very famous for getting the whole entire team TUEs. Everyone that came onto that team had something, even though if they never needed it before. Like it's one of those things, right?
that trickled through the sport, and it's probably
it's not just Salazar, but he's the famous example. He's the easy
Correct.
one to go after.
He's
the
one
easy target.
He's
the
that's
easy
the
target.
layman's example.
He's the fall guy. He's the fall guy
100% the fall
for
guy.
a lot of things.
Yes.
Listen,
Yeah, for sure.
he
Self-done
was
first,
the
but-
fall guy for a lot of things that the sport was and still is probably doing. We're not naive on this show, right?
No, but I'm happy to hear your perspective on bicarb.
Yeah, 100%.
As a coach, it's like I don't know what the answer is, man.
I don't
know.
Look, I'm not going to recommend it to the kid,
Yep.
but it's the same as caffeine. All right, like okay, it's a supplement like you're saying, but I would classify caffeine and bicarb in the same thing. I'm not going to go tell a kid in high school to go take a 200 milligram caffeine pill, right? And I'm not going to tell him to take bicarb, right? If they start, and again, like this is generalized. People go, people came at me in the comments because they're like, the kids are taking it. It's like, yeah, but they're running 146, and that's such a small sliver
There
of
is
the
such a
population.
difference. Yes.
And yes, if you're talking about a kid that is on the cusp of like elite status, getting an NIL,
you're not going to tell a 210 kid to take a bicarb, right?
Correct.
Like,
right. The conversation changes with the very, very elite, but that's you guys know that's like if you're fortunate enough to get one of those kids in your door once in your coaching career, that's freaking amazing.
Well, the 146 kid is also going to compete against grown men, probably. So, like in grown men that are also using it too in other cases.
But I don't think you almost have to do it now as a coach because they're gonna talk to it's almost like a point like I don't really have to have that. I mean, if they ask me, but like it's probably I might not even know if I could, and it's like it's again like
it's difficult.
It's such a weird place as a coach because like I don't know. It's like it's them naturally, but they're enhanced. So it's like trying to figure out like where the kid really is. Like if they take it for every workout and they're crushing everything, like what happens if they don't have it one day? You know, like where does like I just think that it could be one more thing that if it doesn't have it, that could just mentally crush.
Well, it's like anything
in
else.
capacity, you know,
we're finding out that the super shoes were overused for a while, right? And now people are starting to use them for specific things because they're finding out if you use it for everything, then you raise the chances of some injuries and things like that because now you're not feeling certain things. Like some people are dialing back their usage where it's like anything else. Like you have to figure out and you have to pinpoint it in order to know exactly when and where to use these tools.
Don't tell that to the guy in my gym running an easy run at 11-minute pace in Vaporflies.
Yeah, it's
good for him.
Hey, it's why there's a lot of money. It's why there's a lot of money in the sport right now because the general population are buying $300 shoes.
Listen, I think more people
my God,
who don't run wear ons and Hokas. You see every nurse, every
nurses,
like
and
they all
teachers,
wear
teacher, absolutely. You're seeing it all. So, Travis, you're awesome, man. We appreciate you coming on. Before I let you go, I'm asking you the question. I think you're going to have awesome perspective on this, so no pressure. But going to ask you this question we ask a lot of our guests. Obviously, three of us here love the sport. You love the sport. You are, still a pro because you damn well could have competed at Nats, so you are a pro still. If you could change one thing about our sport, you had a magic wand, poof, it happens. Change one thing that would bring in more of the casual fans, bring in more of the money. So somebody like you who had a decade plus career should be a millionaire, right? There's no reason why you shouldn't be a millionaire. You were a pro. What would you change about our sport to get that type of engagement, get that type of money in there so our pros can live like pro athletes should?
This isn't a heartfelt or like a really sweet answer. This is one rooted in reality. Gambling and alcohol.
Yes, we are right here.
I think the first person on our show who mentioned gambling was when we had on Sarah Slattery. She's like, put it on FanDuel, put it on DraftKings. But you're right. Like it's like you could make so much. People will gamble on anything
with revenue sharing. It would make it so much.
Just think of American football. It's like the popularity has skyrocketed
since fantasy
an insane amount since fantasy football.
Think of baseball. They just got Pete Rose into the Hall, and they've been talking about gambling for the past 15 years and promoting every single one of their games with gambling while keeping Pete Rose out. And thank God he's finally in. But it's true that we need to have that. That's a part of athletics. That's a part of sports right now. And until they say, hey, no more advertising gambling, cigarettes used to be advertised all the time. Marlboros, Camels, everything. That was eventually taken away because they saw the health risk, the risk. There's a risk to gambling. People lose their lives. They get addicted. Things happen. Like, not necessarily die, but they lose their livelihoods and shit like that. So it's like, is it something that we may eventually see like all sports go, okay, no, we're not going to promote gambling anymore? Maybe. But until then,
I think we're past that point.
We should take advantage.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's too much lobbying and everything.
We did that back in the 80s, 90s. You can't bet on sports. Now no one's like, bring it, man. Just let's.
Well, there's still a lot of states you can't bet on sports. There's still a ton of states where you can't.
I just think that it would just open up so many, like we said,
open up a ton of doors.
We need the casuals. Like we're gonna watch the races because that's just what we do. We need the people who are just flicking through.
We need more of Noah and Kenny pushing each other. That was awesome. I was here for that.
Yeah,
that was great.
I usually hate it. I didn't mind that because I thought they were both just, I don't know, it was cool. Like they were in the moment. So I have two things I want to talk to you about. The Monmouth Mile, which you are competing in, right?
As of now, yes.
Okay. How is your training going for that? And just tell me how cool it is to have a bunch of people coming to break 4 minutes here at the Jersey Shore in August. It's usually an awesome
August 28th over at CBA.
Yep. And, put on by Craig and the Outpost over there. So just kind of tell us about the event and maybe if you want to delve into how you're feeling and training.
And quick shout out to Coach Compagni. Coach Compagni always coming in the clutch. He's always there.
Coach
He's
Joe.
the best. We love Coach Joe.
Yeah, guy can't retire.
No, when he retires, he does more. Like he retired from Monmouth and he hasn't stopped.
He's at Gone Running. He's at Sure AC. He's at Monmouth.
He does
everywhere. The guy's the man.
One of the years at the Monmouth Mile, we put it on at Modern Day, which had shut down,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
we needed a rail. So I went and got all the bricks that Home Depot had, and Joe was hand and knees, shirt off, laying bricks around the whole entire track. But
He's
yeah,
so
so
dedicated.
Monmouth Mile, it's at CBA's track, phenomenal facility.
Gorgeous
Um,
facility.
it's gorgeous. We've had it there a few years now. Super grateful that we can have it there. My training has gone. It should have gone a lot better. As touched on, my priorities have shifted. I think been starting this online coaching business and things like that. It's taken a backseat, but I've been scraping together okay fitness. I went and did like a 229 1K like a week or two ago. I raced the Brooklyn Mile yesterday or on Sunday. Was that yesterday? Yeah. And I came undone. I felt pretty good. I led through 400, 800, was good at 12. And then I think I ran like a 68 last 400, but it was a good flush of the system on the roads.
This is going to be Princeton, baby.
So
This is going to be
we-
Princeton right here.
how are we gonna get here for you?
You're going to do something
You're gonna
special.
look back and be like, wow, I got under 4 one more time.
Yeah, I just got to get those shoes on, get that bicarb in the system.
There you go, man.
Caffeine,
There
get it
you
all
go.
going, baby.
So
Get a little blood doping, get some HGH.
Yeah.
Just do it all. It's the last one. Let's go.
the other event I want to talk about, because I think this is really cool, is the brand new 2 mile to open up the XC season. Kind of tell us about that thought process and kind of what went into that, where it is. I mean, all answers that I know.
Where, when, everything.
Yeah. So back to the Monmouth Mile fields real quick.
Sure.
The fields are shaping up fantastic. We're going to have a couple Jersey athletes running, which is kind of why I wanted to start this event. Like Damian Dilsher won it last year, which is so cool to see, because that's when I first started putting it on, I ran sub 4 at a CBA track, a Chris Bennett event, like a community miles back in 2014. I was like, holy cool. It was so cool to run in front of family and friends. So seeing him win it, so he's back. We got a lot of guys coming in. Luke Hauser, who's a indoor bronze medalist. We got a lot of the Empire guys. Holt the Bolt, baby.
Allen.
Ben Allen, who ran 333. And then we're actually going to shift. We're not going to have a professional women's mile. We're going to shift and have a pro women's 8, because we just had so much more attention for that event.
Nice.
So we're going to have, as of right now, it seems like, Ajay is going to show up. Wilson's going to show up. Olivia Baker. So yeah, and then we have a good men's 8 as well. So really looking forward to that. There's community miles. I'm just really trying to continue to grow it with Craig and Coach Joe into like a community event, something that's a little bit more of a staple. And I think we're kind of right on the cusp. I think last year, like, people are really starting to enjoy coming and doing that every year, and just the environment's really cool.
What's cool is that today, because I coached the local gone running here in and like, usually those kids have no idea, but there were kids today asking me, did you watch the meet? And there were like 3 or 4 kids whose parents are bringing them to the Monmouth Mile. So it's like, it's cool. Like, people know way more about it than they ever would have when I was a kid. I would have had no idea this meet was going on, but I mean, listen, I'm going to be there. It's going to be awesome.
I do have a question.
Sure.
Can we please move the Monmouth Mile to a weekend? I am up here in New York, and there is no way I can get down on a Thursday.
I'll be there for you.
Come and watch the freaking Monmouth Mile, because I also want to do a live event from there for Talking in Ovals. Yeah. But there is no way I can call work and being like, hey, I'm not going to go get paid and I'm leaving to go and like, I do love the sport. I love all of you. Can we please do it on a weekend? So
it's just hard, because it's like where it falls in the year, competing with other events that are going on, and then obviously then you have the Belmar 5 and things like that. But yeah, so we're doing a 2 mile race under the lights at the Manalapan Rec Center. Yes. Really excited for it. Me and Craig had talked about it for a few years. Just like something a little bit different. Obviously there's some fantastic races like the Cherokee that has a lot of history. It's going on.
Went to the Cherokee
but like this, it's cool, because like you don't have to travel all the way down to Cherokee. It's another option for those schools that are maybe more central or north based, because Cherokee is a great meet, but it's early on in the year, you might not want to take your whole team down there if you're from, somewhere North Jersey, where you can just go there. So, I mean, there's plenty of space for everyone.
Yeah, for sure. So wanted to kind of do that. And we thought, like, man, it'd be really cool to go under the lights. You see it out in some of these California meets. It's really cool. And then Manalapan Rec Center is fantastic. They have so many lights.
I'm there.
It's a really nice, we're going to make this really nice, like 1 mile loop that we'll do twice. And part of it you're going to be running through the woods, but on a really cool thing is the director there at the Rex, for like the rec area there is Al Spector. His sons ran an Alpin, so he's like, yeah, man, we'll just put some lights here.
Listen,
We'll cut a trail here if we need to.
Nobody knows that rec center better than Big Bob Andrews. He's there all the time.
Yeah.
So like, you know,
And that's Friday, September 5th, right? That race is going on.
Yeah, another non-weekend for you.
I know. So here's the thing. Here's what I do need. I need you to find a really good drone operator. I need you to get a drone with a great HD camera, and I need those races streamed so that, you know, the cross country one, I want that with streamed.
Well, I think
so I can enjoy it.
I think we are at the very least, we're going to have a cart and filming that.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I will watch it. I'll be there in spirit.
Yeah, I think Nike's going to come on board as a little bit of a sponsor. You know, just like, you know, kind of jazz up the event, whatever it may be. You know, DJ music, some giveaways, things like that.
Would you get mad at me if you guys were throwing it on YouTube and streaming it? Would you get mad if I streamed from here and talked about it while it was going on?
No, not at all.
I think that would be dope. Dave, if you wanted to do that, we could jump on.
I might be there, but
you might be there, but I might jump on and just,
man.
If it's streamed, I'll just throw the stream through us as well and talk about the race as it's going on. Do some baseball style stuff, some Manning cast.
There you go.
Athletes Lounge.
Athletes Lounge. Listen, it'll be the Ovals cast. There you go. So outside of that, I do want to talk about what you were doing. Obviously, you mentioned that you are a coach. Track and Road Performance. Everybody should go over to his website if you would like to be coached by Travis right here. So talk about a little bit about Track and Road Performance coaching. You said you kind of recently got going in it. How can people get in touch with you and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of happened, I would say, more naturally. You know, I was telling you guys, I wasn't sure if I wanted to go into space. It just, you know, obviously I was a high school coach for a while. It's a little frowned upon to get into this space, but I really truly try to do things in the right way. I also coach high school kids. I coach a few post collegiate guys. You know, Billy Hill, a New Jersey guy, being one of them. He's running really well this year. He's ran 148 and 339. Coach some marathoners. So yeah, I just try to do things in the right way. You know, if people need my services or people are looking for a coach and it fits and it makes sense, I take them on board. I've definitely expanded the high school side of things more recently. And yeah, I mean, big thing for me is making sure, like, if they have a coach or a good program, luckily I have another full-time job. So if someone comes on board and they have a good setup, I just kind of turn them away. But yeah, it kind of happened naturally for me. I was coaching at Old Bridge, and I left Old Bridge, and I had a parent reach out to coach her son over at Saraville at the time, and his kid Sean Wilson, who ended up at UC, and he just really needed some guidance and some help. And you know, I only worked with him for about a couple months, and it had a larger impact than I thought in terms of his trajectory.
And I didn't know you coached Kieran. Sorry about that. I saw a Maris guy. I didn't know you coached Kieran.
Okay.
And that's freaking awesome.
Yeah. And then, and then I just kind of had some people reaching out, and it kind of just started from there. And I wasn't really sure. I went back and forth if I should dive into the space. And then last year, Pam Bucksbaum, she was a middle school. She was my sister's middle school coach at Old Bridge. She was a teacher in Old Bridge. Her daughter was running at Wall.
She's ridiculous.
Callie, So she reached out, and I started working with Callie as well. And then I'm like, you know what, this is really fun. I really do love coaching. I can't do it at the high school level. I'm not a teacher. It's kind of why I had to leave Old Bridge. Teachers get the preference over me, so I couldn't maintain that role. Even if I wanted to, I couldn't maintain it. So kind of transitioned over, and I realized, I love coaching. It's been a lot of fun. Everyone's been running really well so far. And I've had a lot of fun doing it, from the high school kids to the post-collegiates to the marathoners. I think one of the things I love most about coaching is just trying to figure out what works for each athlete and what makes each athlete tick. And I do think that's my strong suit. So I really lean into it, and that's enjoyable, because I have people that come on that are maybe a 52-year-old master women, and then I have another guy running 2:15 in the marathon. And then same thing for the high school. Might have a girl that's running 15 miles a week, and she's an 12:32 miler, and then I have a girl coming on that's already a stud, and you just got to manage that.
I like
and
what you said
navigating
though.
that.
About maybe about the whole high school thing, because it can get tricky when they're at a team with a coach. Like, have you had to manage and kind of maneuver that whole situation?
Yeah, I have not brought on any kid that their coach wasn't okay with it.
Yeah,
That's a priority thing.
communication's
When I'm
huge.
talking. Yeah,
Communication's huge.
yeah, because then you just create this divide, right? Like, you need a lot of support. This sport is brutal. You need a good support system. You need a good circle. So a lot of times there's coaches that might not know a lot about the sport, or they might just kind of be in it just for the stipend or whatever it may be. And if someone's going to come in and give good training to one of their athletes, it almost takes away
Right. No, listen.
a task for them,
Yes,
right?
yes. Like so many coaches of that caliber would love it because they
Yeah,
get all the glory and they don't have to do anything.
But do you
yeah.
find
But I was talking more like those established coaches. But it sounds like you're like, not like, you don't need me. Like,
Well,
you
if
kind
a
of
kid is on an established scene, 90% of the time, they're not reaching out for outside
100%.
coaching. They have a good
Right.
setup. And then if
Right.
I do, again, I'm in a fortunate position too. It's like, maybe I would think differently if this was my sole thing and I had was grinding, but I'm in a position that I don't need to necessarily take on people. So, and I truly do want to do like good things for the sport, put it on the Monmouth Mile, put it on these races. I like my relationships with the coaches. I value a lot of that stuff. So yeah, if there's a kid that reaches out, I always make sure like your coach has to be okay with this. And there's only been like 1 or 2 times where the parents have lied to me about that. And they say like, oh yeah, it's not going to be a problem. And then it becomes, and then I say, this isn't going to work. It's not going to be good for the kid, and so on. So,
especially if we're starting off with dishonesty, like that's not a good way
yeah,
to have a
yeah,
good relationship.
yeah.
Do you find that, as Dave and you were talking about some of the coaches that maybe don't know as much, do you find that some of them are kind of relieved because they have this stud kid
Sure.
and they don't know what to do with them and they don't
Sure.
want to like ruin this kid's chance? So now they have someone that maybe knows what to do and there's like, please go ahead, train this kid up because he or she is talented, but I sure as hell don't know what to do with him. This isn't my sport. Do you find that?
I would
Yeah.
doubt go ahead.
Good.
Oh no, I was
Okay,
saying, like I would doubt that you get many high school coaches reaching out to you.
Well, some
personally.
people have ego. So I'm just saying, some of these coaches
it's
have
smart, though.
ego
No,
and they,
awesome
they're
question,
coaches. I can coach anybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
So-
I felt like I've walked a tightrope so far, in good reception, like good feedback from coaches and from athletes.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I feel like I've done a good job to where
Nice.
I'm not trying to undermine anybody. I think hopefully my one goal too with social media is that I didn't want to go shoot for any clickbait stuff. I wanted to be very transparent, because at the end of the day too, it's like I do want to I want to provide value regardless of my business. So I think there's like levels. Like I am giving out content that I hope does have an impact on people.
It does.
That's big for me. I think when I went back into coaching, even just seeing like guys like Sean Dolan still running on the scene, or Liam Murphy, it's like they were young, and just like I love helping people and seeing people regardless of where that may be, or just seeing people getting better, giving them opportunities, whatever it may be. I felt like I've walked a tightrope and I give that content out. I hope it's impactful. I hope coaches could use it. I hope other athletes.
I'm telling you, it's great feedback, because from a T, every coach that we heard or anyone that we've talked to in the running community that has seen you is like, he's an influencer we follow. Like,
because
he's a good, positive influencer. Like, what you're doing is having the impact you want it to have. I will tell, because they'll say like, hey, out of all the influencers you're going to listen to for my athletes, if you see a Travis Mahoney video, more than likely it's correct. You can go and follow what he says.
Most coaches I have spoken to, you're like the only one that we want our kids to follow, because you just tell it how it is, and you've been through it, and you're not trying to sell anything. You're just giving straight great content that is extremely useful, and it's geared towards that level kid. You're not using jargon that it's confusing. You're just breaking it down, layman's terms. Here's what works. Here's what doesn't work, and a lot of it you're bringing facts and the knowledge, and it's an amazing listen. And like I'm constantly sending my kids on the Remind app. They're probably like, all right, coach, another Travis thing. But it's just good content.
I mean, I think going back to even my high school coach Gebauer had a saying like, do the right thing, in the right way for the right reason. And talking about walking that tightrope, a big thing I try to like also focus on too is like, look, so many of these influencers will kind of push that divide. Like, this is what you're doing wrong. this is what not to do. Whereas I try to do things that could be added. Like this is what you can be doing right. So try to do it more from like a glass half full and not
Sure.
trying to like create doubt as much as I can. Right. Obviously,
Yep.
it's like no, I'm not going to. I know I'm not going to be perfect, and I'm sure at one point maybe it's that. But I really try not to ever like put down other coaches or put down things that are going on. And yeah, just doing the right thing, navigating that fine line, offering that free content that hopefully is helpful. And then obviously, am I trying to make a business out of it? Absolutely. It's what I love to do. I'm selling some plans online, some purchasable plans, and then I'm doing some online coaching. But hopefully, regardless of where a person may fall, there's some good stuff being delivered. I feel like I have consumed a lot, and just because of my length of my career, I think I have touched with a lot of coaches and gained a lot of
Sure.
knowledge. And then on the flip side too, I wasn't this superstar, right? That it just like everything came. I feel like I
You had to work for everything you got. You
more
grinded.
relate to like your average kid and average runner of my career rather than the kid who was just come out the door, state champ. I was
Yep.
barely making my varsity team as a junior. I 8th place in meet of champions was the highest
Listen, I got to
went.
say too. I mean, from talking to coaches, like you are not a person to be like, oh, like you're seen as you're very well respected among other coaches.
No
So like,
one will.
because you do it right. Like, and you'll talk to coaches. You're not like trying to steal or put like you'll have a conversation. You are willing to have a conversation with anybody about anything, and that's what people love to see is the honesty and the transparency. So like, go for it, man. Keep doing what's working for you because there's room in this sport for everybody.
Yeah.
Yep. No one rolls their eyes when someone brings up a Travis Mahoney video about running. They're like,
I
okay,
appreciate it.
we'll watch this one. This is a good one. So once again, he's Travis Mahoney. Whether he thinks it or not, he's one of our, one of the best runners in this sport for a really long time. So we appreciate you again, sticking with us, not telling us to go away, finally coming on the show. It was lots of fun. You're a wealth of knowledge. I don't think we touched on, half the things that we could have talked to you about. So you are someone that we are eventually going to stalk down again and have you on again. So that is a threat, an absolute threat. We're having you back. So go and obviously follow him on social media at Urban Steepler on Instagram. That's where you can find a whole bunch of those reels and videos and stuff like that. And if you want to be coached by him, you can go find his Instagram there at TR_performance, or better yet, go on the website, www.tr-performance.com. And if you want to find us, we are here every single Monday, 9 p.m. Eastern for our live stream. We appreciate everyone who watched today, whether it was on any of the 5 areas we're on. Make sure you like, share, follow, subscribe. Go find us on socials at Talking in Ovals. And if you're listening to this later via podcast form, hello, goodbye. We're getting out of here. So once again, we're